Hey guys, I hope everyone is well and welcome to the first question time of 2021. Obviously with the world...
Well, it is, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Happy New Year, Mark. Happy New Year. On that note, I just want to wish everyone in America, I hope that you're all okay at the moment. I know our audience is majority American and you guys are having a rather rough, dark time at the moment, so I thought we'd just take a moment and just say I hope our viewers are okay. I hope you're staying safe. If you're stressed out, if you're worried, please talk to someone about it. Air your thoughts, don't bottle things up. Anything you want to add to that, Mark?
Basically, as you can probably imagine, we filmed this sort of in advance, so it's literally happening right now, so we don't actually know what's happened over the past sort of day or two. But as Sean says, just sort of stay safe, stay at home, and follow the Constitution, sort of be good and let democracy happen. Cool. That's it.
I just wanted to address that. We obviously can't really ignore it. I know we're a scuba diving channel and we're going to talk about scuba diving, but I thought, hey, just in the intro, just wish everyone just be safe, and I hope that you're all okay. Anyway, so let's crack on with the questions. So the first one is from Cole Fernanda. He left a comment on hose protection breakdown video, which is one of our new videos that we did whilst we were on the holiday breakdown, which did very, very well. So hopefully in the future we can crack out a couple more of them, but that's a discussion that me and Mark need to have done on. Anyway, he says, hello and happy new year. I've heard that rubber hoses are better for cold water, but I've only heard it once, and the reason was a bit odd. Internal air friction is supposedly higher on rubber hoses, which warms the air as you breathe. This seems like it would increase the work of breathing unacceptably while providing little benefit. But as a cold water diver, I'm always looking for tricks to stay even a little tiny bit warmer. Any thoughts on the thermal differences between hose types?
I've not heard that sort of neither, and I don't really understand. I understand what they're sort of trying to get across, but I don't believe that braided hoses have like a smoother bore on the inside. The bore of the hose is usually the same, to be brutally honest. And yeah, as you say, if it's coarser inside a rubber hose, it's just going to create sort of turbulence and eddies and sort of ruin the airflow and increase the work of breathing. So I don't think that's a thing. As far as like insulation and whatnot, I presume I kind of say that a rubber hose might have a little bit more sort of thermal protection because it's almost got an extra layer around it, but you almost want, because the gas coming from high pressure to low pressure is going to be cold, so you almost want the external water to actually warm it up. And Aqualung, I think it was Aqualung, on some of their like cold water regulators, they used to, I haven't seen it for a while, they used to actually include a a heat sink, like halfway or at least 3/4 of the way along the hose. So you'd have like a hose coming all the way, and then before your second stage, but still in the middle of the hose, you'd actually have this little sort of metal sort of 1/2-inch section that had like those heat fins on it to actually warm the gas up a little bit, but even before it reached the second stage. The difference between the two, I don't think there's a huge difference. I mean, the case in point is if you look at sort of cold water specific regulators like your Apex MTXRs, they come with braided hoses. So for a regulator that's specifically focused on, it's cold water, extreme cold, why wouldn't they put a rubber hose on it if they're so much better? So I don't think it's a huge issue. The only thing that I have seen recently, and I sort of first saw this a couple years ago, and that was Atomic Aquatics. They actually have a heat sink coil, which is something that you attach onto the cam band of your tank, and then you basically plumb one hose that goes into it. It then has, if you remember back to sort of science class, like a Liebig condenser, it has this kind of spiral coil that then goes back up, and then you fit the remainder of the hose, and that basically sort of warms up the sort of gas as it's coming straight out of your first stage. So then when you breathe it, it's a little bit more sort of warmer. Or if you're using it on your dry suit, it's not going to be hot or warm. It's just going to be less cold. So if that's something you're interested in, and you've got, I think it's like 200 quid or something, then yeah, you can go for that.
I have an idea.
But I don't. All right, go on then.
No. You carry on before I do my randomness.
The only thing I was going to say is just to reiterate, I don't believe there's any huge difference between sort of rubber or braided hoses as far as thermal heat transfer. So I wouldn't worry about it.
This probably won't work, but what you get like thermal mugs, yeah. So you get a new cylinder which is double sealed, but in the bottom there's a heating element. So in this cylinder itself, even though it's pressurized, that's always at least semi-warm. So when it goes through the tube, obviously the hose and stuff, by the time you breathe it, with including the outside water temperature, it would be either lukewarm or to body temperature.
Yeah. I can see a few problems with that.
No, there's none. It's perfect.
No, not awful problems. I mean, the first one is your pressure gauge would be incorrect because as if you heat up a sealed container, the pressure inside will increase. Yeah, if you start off with sort of warm gas and then it sort of cools as it goes through the first stage, then yeah, but I think for the cost and the infrastructure and all that kind of stuff going into it, it's probably not worth it.
Or what about a thermal base layer for your cylinder? Merino wool, just put it over like a sock. Warm it up, put that over, dive in. Happy days.
A vacuum flask that goes over your hose.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All that.
No, that might make things worse.
No, it won't. It'll be fine. Okay.
Yeah, I don't think it's a huge issue. I think as long as you got sort of cold water rated regulators, I don't think you're going to find that much of a difference in like the internal bore of the hose.
What if, so in the hiking world, we have pouches of basically gunpowder, like you react it, you shake it, and it heats up.
Okay.
Yeah, you stick that in your mouth before you go diving. and then when you
shake.
Shake underwater, shake it. That reacts. You get a nice hot mouth, and then it cools it down. So then, even though you got cold water, your mouth's quite hot, so it counteracts it.
Or one of those like sort of soggy crystal pouches, and you click something on the inside.
Yeah.
Just have one of those inside of your second stage.
Oh, those things are rubbish. They only last about 5 minutes, and then they freeze.
They do say is like, oh well, no, you can then like sort of pop them in boiling water to like soften them, and then they're hot again. It's like, well, yeah, if you pop anything in boiling water, it's going to be hot again.
Those things are stupid. Anyway, let's move on. I hope that answered your question. And if you got any ideas about that, guys, let us know. Do you think like Stanley or Thermos, they should start making diving cylinders? That'd be quite good.
I always used to like.
You could fill it up with a coffee.
Well, my Poseidon, which you can kind of see here, it's got this kind of like rubber cap on the top, and basically the instructions are basically just fill it with alcohol, and that acts as like the cold water sort of preparation for that first stage, because vodka doesn't freeze. You're like, huh, all right.
There we go. Let's get drunk, guys.
How to environmentally seal your first stage, and then you get a little shot after the dive.
Let's get armed, mate. It's lovely. Okay, so second question is from Gelfling1199. He left this comment on. So I'm gonna. No, I'm not. No, I am. There we go. Professional as always. I do apologise. I should have just smoked that coffee. Anyway,
wait. I promise we haven't been drinking before the show.
I just love you guys. Anyway, he left a comment on Let's Talk About Pockets. Obviously, the deep dive that went live over the Christmas period. He says, for a Scuba Pro Hydros BCD pocket, would you go with a cargo, the Ninja, which rolls up, not in use, or one of each? Thanks. So, pockets.
The Ninja, as they say, is like a roll-up pocket. I've never really sort of got on board with these. I get the concept. If you're not using it, you can kind of roll it and it's kind of neat and out of the way. And then if you do, I don't know, find something, then you can like undo the Velcro, unfurl it, and then there's a little sort of zippered pocket. But they're never particularly big. I think I had a BCD with one of those sort of built in years ago, and I don't think I ever used it. By the time, because they're usually underneath your sort of integrated weight sort of pouch anyway, so it's quite hard to get stuff into it, and they're not particularly big, so I'm not a huge fan of sort of the Ninja pocket. The cargo pocket is more like a thigh pocket that clips to the bottom of the bottom D-ring of the sort of integrated weight, and then you get like a pinch clip strap that goes around your thigh, so that's a bit more of a proper pocket. So choosing between the two, I'd go for the cargo pocket. I don't think there's much of a price difference between them, to be honest. The only thing that you do have to consider is that equipment removal. Obviously that thigh pocket is attached to your leg and your BCD, so to be able to get your BCD off, you have an extra clip to undo, whether that's a thigh one or whether you just sort of leave it attached onto your thigh and risk it kind of slipping down your leg, or if you sort of unclip the sort of pinch, if you undo the sort of the pinch clip, then that goes away with your BCD, but if you undo the bolt snap, then it sort of stays on your leg. So yeah, but between those two, I'd go for the cargo pocket. It's bigger, it's a bit more convenient, and you just have more storage space.
Is there any other system that you might use that's because I was thinking of the, you get the neoprene shorts that you put over your wetsuits that offer pockets. Is there anything like that
that's
you might recommend?
Yeah, that's what I use. If I'm diving in a wetsuit or a shorty or just sort of board shorts that don't have pockets, then I'll just wear a pair of tech shorts. At the moment, I'll wear the Fourth Element ones just because I prefer their pockets. But there are plenty out there. I think Scuba Pro even do their own. And they're just a pair of like neoprene shorts. So again, you're getting a little bit of extra sort of thermal protection as well as abrasion protection as well. But you're getting some proper sort of thigh pockets so you can store stuff on both sides.
Yeah. Pre-COVID,
but I think they are.
Weren't we making them as well? Pre-COVID, we were making some, weren't we? Or designing them.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether Simply Scuba Limited was looking into making our very own tech shorts. I think I lost all those designs.
Mate, they've all gone.
It's all gone.
Yeah. Which is a slight spoiler to the last question on today's episode.
But they're an investment. They're substantially more expensive than just a single pocket. So it's so you make your choice. But between those two, I go for the cargo pocket just because it's a bit more substantial.
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering that question, young Mark. So third question is from a Carmel Finch. Loria. I really need to
Carmel Finch Loria.
Yeah, I was kind of right. She left a question on question time number 7. He says, "Hi Mark and Sean." I spelled my names wrong, but I'll let you off. It's 2021.
Both names. That's impressive.
I know. I have a feeling you might have done that on purpose.
That was on purpose.
Yeah. Anyway, obviously they say all the best for 2021. Thank you very much. It's starting off as a great year for the world, isn't it?
So far, so good.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm from Malta and I'm currently looking at a new suit for the winter period. The sea temperature goes down to minus 15 degrees here, so I'm undecided between
minus 15.
That's what this. Oh, minimum. Sorry, minimum.
Oh,
yeah,
minus 15.
You pretty much have to like. Wow. Okay. Anyway, yeah, minimum of 15 degrees. So I'm undecided between a 7mm or a very warm 5mm. Was looking at the Fourth Element Proteus 2 and the waterproof W1, which comes both in 5mm and 7mm. I tend to feel a bit cold, so we'll be using a hooded undervest with it. What do you suggest, or maybe can suggest the warmest 5mm? Also, wish to dive with you anytime in the future in the Farne Islands, or maybe here in Malta.
Yeah, when this is all over, if I'm ever in Malta or set up in the Farne Islands, we can get together. That would be fun.
Can I come?
They're both.
I can hold your gear.
You
by
can.
The side of the...
Yeah, that's it. You can carry my stuff.
Oh, thanks.
So Fourth Element Proteus 2, waterproof W1, they're both very good wetsuits. If you do feel the cold, then it's probably worth sort of going up a size. 15 degrees, I tend to be in my dry suit anyway.
Minus 15, Mark. Minus 15.
Negative 15 degrees, doesn't actually say Celsius, Fahrenheit, or Kelvin. I'm guessing Celsius. I'd probably go for a 7mm just so that you have that extra. And of course, sort of remember gloves and hoods and boots and stuff, because your extremities make a world of difference when you're sort of diving in colder waters. Any others? I'd recommend looking at Bare, Bare, just because they make some very nice sort of wetsuits. And also look at the I can't remember what it's called. It's like the thermal rating. All wetsuits, or at least all like full length exposure suits, they'll be sort of graded. So if you get an A grade, it's particularly good, and then if you get B, it's not quite as good, and then a C, a D, and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Bare wetsuits are quite often sort of A grade. So that's something that I often look at when I'm looking at a wetsuit. Waterproof. I have a waterproof Lynx 5mm upstairs, which is like the a few generations before the W1. Proteus 2 is fine. The one thing that I would note is that it has like a sort of an internal bib that you have to put your head through. So if you're wearing a vest underneath, it's just something extra for that to sort of go over. So it's worth kind of looking into that. And the Proteus 2. It is a real pain to get on because it's very body fitting, and it usually comes up fairly small on the size chart. So do sort of bear that in mind when you're sort of looking to get one. But yeah, it's if you say that you already feel the cold, then yeah, I'd probably just go for a 7mm or sort of look for a semi-dry so that you're dry for a predominantly sort of long period of the dive anyway. But yeah, 15 degrees, I wouldn't really bother with a 5mm. I'd probably go straight to a 7mm, or even just sort of consider looking at dry suits, because you can wear them both in warm and cold waters if you really want to, and they're much more efficient than them standard wetsuits.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the Proteus, when I worked in the shop, anyone that's like, I'm going to try a Proteus, and was like, cool, I'm going to block out my entire afternoon, and I'm going to make loads of tea just for you to get this on. Like, and I've never seen so much flesh in my life
in this lubricant.
Yeah. It's like, oh, what size are you? Oh, medium. Cool. I'm going to get you a large, maybe even an extra large. No, I want to try a medium. It's like, it ain't going to fit. No, I want to try it on. It's like, you're not even going to be able to get your little fingers through.
Yeah, I think on their size chart, I tend to be like a medium or a large, depending on sort of what it is. But with my tech shorts, I'm like a 2XL. So yeah, it's always worth going up at least one size, or at least sort of ask around. Yeah. Because that was one thing that we were working on sort of towards the end of old Simply, and that was that you could, as a customer, if you bought one, when you like reviewed it and gave it like 3, 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever it was, you could then sort of say, oh, okay, I bought this size and these are my measurements, to sort of help out other people kind of go, oh, okay, well, yeah, I'm looking at that size, but this guy says it comes up a bit small, so I'll sort of go sort of this way. And now with all sorts of COVID protocols and whatnot, it's quite hard to sort of walk into a dive center and just try on a wetsuit. Yeah.
Anyway, hope that answers your question, and I'll see you in Malta end of this year.
Yeah, Promises.
I'm gonna go to. You guys can go dive, and I'll go to Popeye Island or whatever they call it from that movie set that they just left there all those years ago. Anyway, next question is from Christina Sanchez on choosing the right dive computer. She says, "Hi, what do you think about the Cressy Goa? Is it good too? I've been told it's not very reliable, and I was looking for some advice about it."
The Cressy Goa is like a watch-sized dive computer. I'm sure it's fine. That's the thing with Cressy dive computers. There's never been that wow factor of them. If you look at like Scuba Pro dive computers, they have like their human factor diving, sort of sheer water. They're always just kind of like amazing across the board. Sunto dive computers, people know that they got this sort of user interface and they're really sort of intuitive. But with Cressy, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a dive computer, and it'll do everything that you need. It'll get you back safely. It'll tell you all the same information, but they don't have that same something that really makes them stand out. So yeah, there's nothing wrong with it, but there's nothing in the back of my mind that really sort of makes me go, yeah, go out, buy the Goa. It's the best thing since sliced bread. It's a dive computer. It'll do the job. If it kind of ticks the boxes for you, then yeah, go for it. It's a dive computer. That is the thing with sort of Cressy dive computers, is that they don't have that kind of that thing, that spark that really kind of goes, oh wow, yeah, okay, it doesn't have this feature, but it has this, which makes them sort of stand above the rest. And there's just nothing that sort of makes me really go, oh yeah, you should really sort of buy this instead of such and such. But there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfectly good dive computers. As I said, they're like a RGB algorithm, I believe, which is the same with a lot of Sunto dive computers and a lot of other dive computers. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's got everything that you need. It's watch-sized. It will be light. They're fairly inexpensive as well. As far as reliability, I haven't heard that. But I'm sure it's perfectly fine.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks. I hope that helps you out. Next question is from Rob Ormiston. He left this question on the best ways to store your gear. And also it relates back to one of the videos that we first shot when we came back, basically. Because do I need to drain my tank basically for storage? And how do you store a tank for the winter? So that'll be in our cylinders video, won't it?
I was going to say, I feel like I covered this in a video somewhere. Yeah, basically, so the current guidelines are, if you're storing your tanks for sort of anything longer than 3 months, which a lot of us are doing, not out of our own choice, but needs must. And basically, because if you have a completely full and pressurized cylinder, then the pressure on the inside is increasing the rate of any potential corrosion on the inside of the tank, especially if you have sort of higher nitrox mixes. If you're storing your tank for anything longer than 3 months, it's actually better to drain it, not completely, just drain it down to like sort of 5 or 10 bar for long-term storage. It's also better if you do it upright, because if you lay a tank down, then all of the sort of sediment and anything on the inside, no matter how microscopic it is, it's all going to end up sort of along the length of the body, which is the weakest part of a tank. You actually want it to collect down at the bottom, which is the strongest part of the tank. If you are sort of storing it for longer periods, if it's going to be used as breathing gas, there has been at least one case that I've heard of. I don't know if it's sort of happened more than once, but basically in that circumstances, with sort of whatever sort of happened there, basically the air mix inside of it reacted with the sort of metal of the tank, and it basically created carbon monoxide gas, which is of course deadly. So Yeah, it's if you're storing it for anything longer than 3 months, yeah, the current guidelines are to sort of drain it down to about sort of 5 or 10 bars. So there's still pressure inside it, so water can't get in, but it just means it's going to sort of last that much longer.
Cool. Hope that helps you out. During that explanation, the cylinder video would have popped up, but I'll pin it also in the comments below as well for you. So check out that video. Next question is Dive with Matt. He left a comment on the cold water advice, obviously deep dive. Again, one of the videos that went live when we were sleeping over Christmas and eating way too much food. It says, hey Mark and Sean, hope you and your families had a great Christmas. We did, thank you very much. Matt, I hope that you had a wonderful Christmas too. Fantastic video as always. You're welcome, all because of the editing. I've been dry suit certified now for 5 years. I'm looking into getting some new thermal / undersuit. I currently have the 4th Element Arctic 2-piece. Is there much difference between them and the Arctic Expedition? Also, which one would you advise to go for? Another 2-piece suit or an all-in-one / onesie style?
Yeah, so the Arctic Expedition is kind of a hybrid to the upgraded suit to the standard Arctic. I used to dive in the sort of Arctic 2-piece for most of my sort of teaching career. So yeah, it is perfectly fine undersuit. The Expedition is just a sort of an upgraded version, so on sort of panels of it, over the chest, over the shoulders, sort of on your butt, they have this sort of special hydrophobic layer, so traditional sort of leak points and where you are going to get wet, where you're like sort of sat down on a bench, it just sort of protects you. It's got this like ceramic sort of print over the top of it, which actually sort of helps prevent it from doing that sort of bobbling stuff that it tends to do. As far as thermal capacity, I don't think there's a huge upgrade, but it's just the kind of the little bits sort of here and there that sort of really upgrade it. Like the thumb loops are sort of much nicer. So yeah, it's as far as warmth, there's not going to be a huge difference, I don't believe. But as far as kind of quality and overall kind of like feel and features, yeah, it's definitely been sort of upgraded. Choosing between a 1-piece and a 2-piece. The main differences is that one, it's a lot easier for an obscure body shape to fit into a 2-piece because you can get a large top and then a small bottom, or sort of mix and match. If you're particularly long, then you do get that sort of extra overlap in the midsection, so you are going to sort of fit into it that much easier. Going to the toilet is a lot easier because if they just have like a front zip all the way up at the front and you need to do number 2, you literally have to kind of sit there half naked, sort of just doing that on the head, because yeah, you can go for a whiz perfectly easily, sort of stood upright, undoing that zip. But yeah, anything else, yeah, you have to take it all off, which isn't particularly pleasurable. But yeah, if you are sort of bending and if you are sort of bending and stretching, then a 1-piece is always going to keep you covered. So when you're getting sort of kitted up and you're in your undersuit and you're kind of doing stuff, you're not going to get that sort of sudden, because of a cold flush because a wave or something has just kind of gone sort of underneath, or a sort of cold wind is kind of flushing around you. It is personal preference. At the moment, I dive in a onesie, just because, yeah, it does the job. But I've no aversion to sort of 2-piece suits. It's that it's pick your poison. They'll both do the job. Just they have their pros and cons in sort of different areas. Yeah. Nothing wrong with the sort of Arctic Expedition. Yeah, as I say, I don't think it's thermally that much warmer than the standard Arctic. I think it's just the sort of the user experience is just dialed up a bit, so it's a bit more comfortable and a bit more sort of premium, as it were. Yeah,
because it's a bit of a hard one. Obviously, everyone feels the temperature differently, so what works for you might not work for someone else, sort of thing. And
yeah,
with the onesie, just put a bum flap in. That solves that problem. Like
just,
you're having
just get a craft knife.
Yeah. Velcro. That's all you need.
I think the girls I think the girls, I don't know whether it's on the Arctic expedition, but a few sort of girls undersuits, they do have that zippered sort of U shape on the butt.
There we go then. So guys, just if you're going to onesie, just go for a ladies one.
Just buy the women's one. Actually, that's probably not a bad idea. I mean, granted, it's not going to be sort of perfectly kind of shaped and tailored for your body shape, but hey, it's more practical.
Exactly. Cool, man. All right, let's move on. So, Ricky, number 7, Ricky Damiano. He left. Damiano. He left a comment on the cold water advice deep dive again. What's the difference between wetsuits? When my son took his classes, he trained in a 7mm wetsuit. Currently, he owns a 5mm wetsuit. Which is better? So another wetsuit question mark. It's a very generic one, but I thought I put this one in there.
Yeah, I can kind of dig into this. So, yeah, I think you've kind of hit the nail on the head when you said he trained in a 7mm and then he bought a 5mm, which is better. So yeah, you'll probably find that the 7mm that he trained in, it was 7mm thick when the dive center bought it, but through sort of years of sort of continuous use, if you bear in mind that the neoprene itself, it's 7mm thick and it's full of thousands of sort of little bubbles. It's like a foam. So as you start to descend, that foam is going to compress and get thinner, and then when you come back up, it expands. After years and years of use of expanding and contracting, it actually just ends up getting thinner and thinner because the bubbles, they just end up collapsing. So that 7mm after a couple years is probably going to be just a 5mm. But also, school suits are built to be sort of tough, because they're being used continually, whereas most sort of retail suits designed for sort of the end user, they're actually built to not necessarily a higher quality, but a different quality. They're not built for continuous use, they're built for sort of comfort and sort of efficiency. So yeah, you'll probably find that 5mm wetsuit does have that higher thermal class rating than the sort of traditional school suit, because no school is going to buy 25 expensive sort of fancy wetsuits if they're just going to be used by students and just destroyed, because that's a huge investment for that dive center. So a lot of school suits, they are a lot cheaper, especially if you buy them in multiples. If you buy like 5 or 10 of them, they end up cheaper for the dive center. But yeah, they're not going to have the same features, the same fit as the sort of the school suit or the sort of the retail suit, as it were. So that's kind of it. Yeah, the 7mm that he trained in, it probably was a 7mm, but by the time that he got round to it, it was probably less of a 7mm, and it wouldn't be sort of as feature rich as the 5mm that you've bought him since. So yeah, that's going to be the main difference. And there's a whole ton of sort of other features, like the neoprene itself. You get different grades of neoprene, which kind of, you get some that are more resistant to compression, and then you get some that are more flexible, and sort of everything in between, the different seals and sort of how it fits, all of that kind of stuff all adds up to sort of staying warm. So yeah, you can get a 7mm, and then you can get a 5mm that sort of keeps you warmer. It's yeah, that's why you do get expensive wetsuits and you get cheap wetsuits.
Cool. I hope that helps you out, Ricky.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question is from Steve. Now, Steve, you watch this because you are a regular. You pretty much say, well, you say morning to us every morning on Daily Deco. Your surname, you think it's Michael, don't you? I think it's like... I don't think it's Michelle. It's Michelle, but maybe said with a... I don't know.
Michelle.
It could be Michelle.
Phonetically, I think it could be both. Yeah. As you say, it's not spelt as the traditional Michael. No. But who knows? Anyway, sure he'll let us know.
Yeah, please do. Please do, Steve. Sorry.
Steve.
Yeah, I don't say what's it, Mike. Yeah, your name's Mike now, Steve. Change it. I want you to just change your name to Mike on YouTube. Thanks.
Yeah, go down to Depol.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway, he left a comment on Spool product breakdown. He said, so why do we need to keep the SMB... so why don't we keep the SMB, attached to the spool before the dive starts?
You don't have to. It's just kind of... The main thing is that a spool is a sort of a multi-purpose tool. So depending on your dive, you can sort of use it for other things to sort of either leave a bread trail so you can find your way back out, or you can sort of attach it onto things. It's that kind of multi-purpose tool. But if you're just going on a recreational dive, then yeah, you can leave it attached onto your sort of DSMB. Personally, I don't. I tend to have my my DSMBs as like separate entities in my pockets, and then I'll get my spool out, I'll get my DSMB out, and then I will attach the two. But there's nothing wrong with sort of having it attached in a pocket. I mean, that's one other consideration. If you're clipping it off just straight onto a D-ring, you then have your bolt snap, the small section of line, you then have your spool, and then you have your sort of DSMB kind of attached onto it. So that's quite a lot of stuff just clipped off onto a D-ring. But if you put it in a pocket, there's no real reason why you shouldn't do. But yeah, the main reason why some people don't is that you have your spool as a sort of a multi-purpose. So if you need to use it for whatever other reason, you'd have to get it out, you'd have to take off your spool, take off your DSMB, stow that away, and then you could use your spool. But there's nothing wrong with sort of leaving it attached to your SMB inside your pocket. It's just how some divers do it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Anyone else got any more thoughts about that? Yeah. Whack it in the comments. Let's have another discussion. So we have one question now. Normally we do have eight. Say two questions. 8, but we got a bonus question. It's the first one of 2021, so I thought, why not? Let's do 9 instead. So the last question is from Amazing Taz. Awesome username.
The Amazing Taz.
They left a comment on the 2020 was a bit rough video. And he says, come on, or they say, sorry, come on, there must be more bloopers. Have a great 2021, you guys, and keep that content coming. So the reason why I put this one in there is because, yes, we had loads of bloopers. Obviously,
yeah, I'm sure there probably was.
There was loads, like not from us directly here, because when we do daily deco, it's basically I cut the beginning, I cut the end, and whatever happens in between, unless I say something very wrong, it's pretty much just a general flow of things. But
that never ever happens, Sean, does it?
No, never. But because it's organic. We're having a conversation. That's what people seem to like. So I don't want to interfere with the flow of things too much. But basically, when we used to do scripting, so the old Daily Scuba News, obviously we had myself, we used to do some stories. Mark had to do some stories. We had Alana. We had Holly and we had Sam. So there was 5 of us that used to write scripts. Yeah. Now, even though that they were all auto-cued, we would mess up. So there was plenty of foul-ups. Mainly myself and Alana. Mainly me, basically, because I can't read to save my life. But unfortunately,
and to be brutally honest, I would throw in a few things into my scripts.
Yeah, I hated
to throw Sean off, which
every
didn't
time.
help.
Or like I would write a script and I'd be like, oh Mark, can you just go over it, make sure that like the factual bits are all safe. It's like, I'm just gonna add about 20 different long words with 10 X's in it. You're like, cheers, mate. But so in all honesty, yes, there was loads of bloopers. There was a file that I was kind of keeping backed up on my computer as well as on all the external hard drives I used to have, and that's the key point here. Used to. So we all worked from home at first, and obviously before the company went under. So we took all of the necessity stuff that we needed with us, didn't we, Mark? And then when I say I did. You weren't here when it was closed. You were in Australia, weren't you?
I was going to say, I was in Australia, so I came back to complete chaos.
You did indeed. But yeah, basically, so we had to deal with that. So I had all the hard drives with me. Then when they went into administration, because they had to tally up the worth of everything, like stock and all that sort of thing, I then gave all the Simply Scuba equipment that I had to the old boss, who then took it
their
to
property.
took it to the thing, which means all of that work, all of the files and stuff that we had, or I had for Blooper Wise, were on that hard drive, and I've never seen it since. So yeah, it literally was when we came back, it was starting from scratch. So that's why you'll see new intros and all that sort of thing to certain videos, because it's just easier to make it all up again rather than trying to research and try and mimic what we've done. So yeah, that was it. There was loads of bloopers, especially you get Alana, bless her, and then when you used to bring Rupert and Darcy in, those bloopers are golden, and I really wanted to put them in, but yeah, it just couldn't do it. And also as well, that whole piece, even though it's obviously titled 2020, was a bit rough. 1 second, I'm just gonna have to stop my camera and start again. There we go, I am back. Hello. Sorry about that, I've got a timer. Yeah, what was I saying? So yeah, even though that video was about 2020, and obviously the rough year that we had, it's also kind of closing the chapter on what Simply Scuba was. So it's kind of like a goodbye. So if there's any bloopers in the future, it's going to be if anything happens here, or eventually when we get a studio, and if any bloopers happen from there. So it's kind of closing the door on the past and then open it up ready for the future. So yeah, that was about it. But yeah, it's just like we had lots of stuff, didn't we? Like we were saying, you said earlier, we had loads of designs of stuff, and it's literally gone. Like obviously, people keep asking about the Mark 1 dive torch, the most popular dive torch that we ever sold, pretty much. Yeah. Bang for the buck.
I think we can bring it back. It's just it's not as simple as it used to be, and we're still building the foundations, so we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, definitely.
So you'll probably see it again, but it won't be any time too soon, to be brutally honest. I mean,
they need to rename it as well. The Sean one.
The Mark.
Still can't believe you got away with that. Can't believe you got away with that.
It started off as a joke. We're like, right, what are we going to call this sort of torch? And I did so much research into star constellations and like the names of sort of fish and turtles and all this kind of stuff, and because we thought, oh, okay, well, we'll eventually come out with more than one. So let's come up with like a theme, and I think the joke at like the front of an email sort of proposition, I was like, why do we call it the Mark 1? Wink, wink. And they're like, actually, we like that. I was like, really? All right.
If your ego wasn't big enough already, you had a product named after you.
I still have one. I have one of the sort of originals. I don't have the original, the prototype.
That was silver,
used to be on my
it?
Desk. The silver one, that's I have no idea where that is, but
it got melted down, scrap for gold or whatever, scrap for cash.
Probably the lithium-ion battery on the inside is like, we can get some money for that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly that.
No, I was fairly humble with the second one. I came up. We were going to call it the GD2, which is named after the managing director. I was like, well, let's not call it the Mark II. Let's call it the GD1 or the GD2.
That was very nice of him to let you do that. The boss. Well, no, now basically, if we do it again, it'll have to be called like the Fusion or something.
No, it'll be the Mark II.
Or
the Mark 1.1.
Well, unfortunately, Mark, you won't have any say in that.
That's right. I know the guy that makes them. I'll just convince him. It's like, nah, dude, just put my signature on it. Laser etch it on every single one. I'd be happy with that.
And on that note, guys, that is the Q&A over and done with.
Yeah, if you have any questions that you want answered, let us know down in the comments below. Stay tuned this weekend. We got a couple. We got the Saturday Surface Interval, which covers sort of scuba diving no-nos, things that you shouldn't do while scuba diving or just on a dive boat. On Sunday, I've done a breakdown on sort of new in for sort of 2021. Not necessarily brand spanking new dive equipment that no one's ever seen before, but just kind of some stuff that's new to the website that you might not have noticed, but it's definitely worth considering. So stay tuned for that. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, as you always do. You always click on that little thumbs up button because it's cheap, it's free, it's quick and easy. If you have any interesting news stories, then yes, let us know down in the comments below. If I've said anything sort of wrong, then by all means correct me.
Everything.
Or if you have any.
Is wrong.
Yeah, or if you have any extra sort of views on anything, if you're aware of the thermal capacity of rubber hoses compared to braided hoses, yeah, by all means, let us know down in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, everybody, and of course, safe diving.
And don't forget to follow us on Spotify or wherever you get podcasts, because we're still doing that. We still need to plug. I keep forgetting that we need to plug that. Plug. And we don't. Or we do it once or twice and then we forget. So I'm saying that now. Spotify or wherever you get your podcast. Anyway, yeah. Have a great weekend, guys, and stay classy, scuba divers.